Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about whether or not you can retire early at age 60 with $1 million in your 401k. This is actually one of the most common questions that I receive, and in my opinion, if you think about what the American dream is, everybody says it's, owning a home in America, but I actually think that maybe the new American dream is, can I retire early? If we haven't met yet, my name is Trevor Johnson. I'm the founder of Dreamweaver Financial Planning, and I help hardworking American savers figure out how much they can spend in retirement without having to worry about running out of money. When we talk about spending in retirement, I want you to think that you're out running a mile, and you have a choice to make when you start running the mile. You can see your car way out in the distance, and if you sprint really fast, that'd be like spending a lot of money right away. You're going to run out of energy, and you're going to have to walk part of it the way till you gain your energy back. Well, you could also see your car way out in the distance and just walk right from the beginning. But in that case, you're going to walk all the way to your car and you're still going to have a lot of energy left when you get to your car. So that would be like having a lot of money left at the end of your retirement. But the sweet spot is if you can pace yourself on the mile run and you get to your car right when you're out of energy. So when we think about spending and we talk about withdrawal rates and how much you can spend each year, I want you to compare it to running the mile. Okay, so let's start the ground rules for today's example. We're talking about a couple who has $1 million saved in their 401k, and it's pre-taxed. So the $1 million has not been taxed yet. And they're 60 years old and they want to know if they can retire today. Now, what I have found that there are some people that love their job and they just want to know when they can retire, when work becomes optional. It doesn't mean they're going to retire, they just want to know when they can retire. And I also know some people that just want to retire as soon as possible because they hate their job. I think the studies show that like 75% of people don't like their job. So it's up to you where you are with that on that scale. But the couple here wants to retire as soon as they can. They want to be done working and they're not interested in working part-time. Okay, so they want to know, can they retire at age 60 or do they need to work a few more years? This particular couple would like to spend $75,000 per year in retirement, and in their plan, that $75,000 would go up with inflation each year. They're both expecting to receive around the average amount of Social Security, so they're both expecting to receive about $2,000 per month, and they told me that they would like to wait until their full retirement age to start receiving Social Security. So they'd like to wait until age 67. Also, they wanted to spend $75,000 per year, but that does not include the cost of their health care, their long-term care, and also any taxes. So when you add all that in, their first year they're going to be spending about $95,000. But their discretionary part that they told me they would like to comfortably spend each year in their ideal retirement would be $75,000. We also had discussions around risk, and based on how much risk they're willing to assume so they could be comfortable sleeping at night, we agreed that a portfolio that was made up of 50% stocks and 50% bonds is what we would base the projections on. This couple has done a couple things to help position themselves for a successful retirement. First of all, they have 2 new cars that are fully paid off. They're fully taking advantage of their high income earning years here. They've also made all of the necessary upgrades to their home, so when they go into retirement, it's not going to need a new roof, it's not going to need new windows, they're not going to have any big home expenses. Their home's in good shape for many years ahead. They also have no other outstanding debt, so they have no mortgage, and they have no personal loans, and they have no credit card debt. So I ran the numbers for these clients, and I think the result is somewhat shocking. They actually have only a 13% probability of success, meaning there's only a 13% chance that they won't run out of money in this scenario. So at this point, I decided to sit down with the clients and go over 2 different options. The first option is to still retire at age 60, but make some changes to their plan. So here's the changes that they would need to make in order to set it up in a way where they wouldn't run out of money throughout their retirement. So remember they said that they wanted $75,000 per year in retirement. So they would need to reduce the $75,000 per year down to $60,000 per year. They would also need to implement what's called the retirement spending smile into their retirement plan, which just means that in the first years of retirement, you're going to spend more because you've got a lot of energy, you're excited, you've got all these things you want to do. But as the years go on, you're going to get older and slow down a little bit. and start spending less. And then at the end of your retirement, your expenses are probably going to go up because your health expenses are going to be going up, and also any long-term care needs that you have are going to need to be considered. So they would reduce their expenses from $75,000 down to $60,000 per year. They'd implement the retirement spending smile into their retirement plan. They would also need to change their portfolio composition. So remember, their portfolio mix was 50-50. It was half stocks, half bonds. Well, in this case, if we bumped it up to 60% stocks and 40% bonds, that increased expected rate of return would help ensure that they don't run out of money. So if we factor in all of these changes, they could retire at age 60, and now their probability of not running out of money goes all the way up to 77%. The second option is for them to work for 3 more years and to max out their 401k each year. If they work 3 more years, it would allow them to still retire early, so at age 63 instead of age 60. But the main thing is it would allow them to spend the full $75,000 per year, which is what they wanted. So they would not have to reduce their spending like they had to in option 1. They would also need to implement the retirement spending smile like we talked about before, where you spend more the first few years, then less, and then more towards the end of your retirement. The reason that working 3 more years has such a huge impact on their plan is that their portfolio remains untouched. They're not taking money out of it for their living expenses. They're adding money to it through their 401k, and their portfolio is also hopefully growing from good market performance. So it has a tremendous impact on their long-term probability of success. Also, for that 3 extra years of work, they're paying all their bills through their paychecks that they're still receiving. So there's a huge impact on that. In fact, the probability of success in this case goes all the way up to 83%. Something that I wanted to point out was just the theories around the probability of success. So you might think that, well, in that first example, a 77% probability of success, you might think, well, maybe that's kind of low, like shouldn't it be 100%? But the danger in that is if you want 100% probability of success, then in most cases it takes so much money to get to 100% that you might never retire, or you might retire very late and miss out on some of your best years. I like to aim for a success rate of around 80%. And then as someone progresses throughout retirement, they can make tweaks to their portfolio that will ensure the long-term viability of it. So for instance, if the market is way down, we'll talk about spending less those years. And if the market is up significantly, like it has been in the last couple of years, you can spend a little bit more in those years. So you adjust it as time goes on, but 80% really kind of is the sweet spot when you're talking about retirement. You might also be surprised that in the first option here that $1 million wasn't enough to live the retirement of their dreams on. And you'd be surprised because a lot of couples, it really, when it comes to retirement planning, it really comes down to how much guaranteed income sources they have. And some couples, they have very high Social Security payouts. They've made high earnings throughout their whole career, so their Social Security checks are gonna be very large. And some people also have large pensions. And the more your guaranteed income sources are, then the smaller your portfolio can be when you retire. So in this case, they do have some guaranteed income, but it's not that much. So their portfolio really needs to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Also in this example, if they retire at age 60, we're projecting out that they're gonna live to be at least 90 years old. So that $1 million needs to last for 30 years. The important thing to note here is that everyone's situation is very unique. So if you'd like me to run the numbers for your specific situation, please reach out via the link below. Thanks for watching.